Hi, everyone. So, Jesus and his disciples got in a boat and they traveled across the Sea of Galilee to find a place that was a bit remote, a bit far away, so they could rest and they could find a quiet place away from all the crowds. Well, the people, though, were so excited. They really wanted to see Jesus. They had heard of all these miracles that he'd been doing. They had heard about the one I told you about a couple of weeks ago, remember that invalid who had been sick for 38 years and he was lying by the pool of Bethesda? And Jesus healed him. And so the people were so excited. They wanted to see Jesus. So they came out of the towns, large crowds looking for him. Some of them wanted to be healed by Jesus. Some of them had people that they wanted Jesus to heal, and some of them just wanted to see a miracle. And so when Jesus and his disciples got to the other shore, do you know what was there? A large crowd waiting for them. And when Jesus saw them, even though he was tired and his disciples were tired, the Bible tells us that he had compassion on them because they looked like sheep without a shepherd. And so he did. He went and he healed their sick. And then he started teaching them many things. Well, time passed, and then it was getting late in the day, and the disciples came to Jesus, and they said, "We're really far, Lord, from a lot of places here. We're far from towns, and it's getting late already. I think we need to send these people away so they can go into the villages and buy some food for themselves." Do you know what Jesus said? Jesus said, "They don't have to go anywhere. You feed them." The disciples were shocked. How could they feed them? Philip went up to Jesus and he said, "Even if we spent 8 months' wages, we couldn't buy enough food to give each one of these people one bite." Well, you know why? There was 5,000 men there. That's why. And there were women and children. That's why Philip said that. That would be like someone going to your mom and dad and saying, "Could you please feed all of Quio and Norway Bay and Bristol and Shawville and Clarendon and Campbell's Bay and Bryson and maybe Otter Lake too?" That's a lot of people. How could they do that? Well, Andrew, who was Simon Peter's brother, he came to Jesus and he said, "Well, I found this little boy and he has his lunch with him, and his mom sent him 5 little barley loaves and 2 fish." But what is that amongst so many people? That would be sort of like your mom saying to you one day, "Okay, I packed your lunch for school. The only thing is that no one else is bringing lunch to school today, and so you have to share your lunch with everyone in the entire school." Or your dad saying to you, "Oh, it's Christmas banquet. We're all going to go and we're going to have a meal after church, and the whole church is going to be there. The only thing is that your little plate that you're going to eat, you have to share that with the entire church." It just wasn't going to be enough. But you know what Jesus did? He said, "Tell the people to sit down. Have them sit down in groups of 50 and groups of 100. And the Bible tells us that there was a lot of grass in that area, so the people sat down on the grass. And then Jesus took the little boy's lunch, the 5 barley loaves and the 2 little fish, and he thanked God for them. And then he started breaking them up and giving them to the disciples to pass out to the people. Well, how long was that going to last? Well, the disciples passed out what Jesus gave them, and then they came back because there were still lots of people that needed food, and Jesus gave them more. And so they took that and they passed it out, and they came back and Jesus gave them more. And so they took it and they passed it out and they came back and Jesus gave them more. In fact, Jesus kept giving them more. It never ran out until all those 5,000 men and women and children were all full. And you know what? No one went hungry. And after that, Jesus said to them, "Okay, now I want you to go out and pick up all the leftover pieces. We don't want to waste anything." And so the disciples went out and they started gathering up the leftover pieces in baskets. And do you know how many baskets they gathered up? Well, let's count together. They gathered up 1, 2, 3. Surely that's it. No. 4. 5. 6. Even more. 7. 8. 9. Do you think there was even more? There was. 10. 11. 12. They gathered up 12 baskets full of leftovers. They gathered up more than they started with. It was amazing. It was a miracle, and all the people were amazed as well. Well, when evening time came, Jesus told the disciples to go on ahead and cross back over the Sea of Galilee in their boat. And he would send the crowds away, and then he was going to go up onto the mountainside to be alone and to pray to God his Father. And so the disciples got in the boat, and they started rowing across the Sea of Galilee. Now, the Sea of Galilee is known for having storms come up quickly. And so they were rowing, and a wind started blowing, a strong wind. And of course, it was blowing against them. So they were rowing against the wind and rowing against the wind. And the sea, it just got choppier and more rough, and they kept rowing. And in fact, they rowed for a long time, many hours. And they were about 5 or 6 kilometers from shore. And it was already the 4th watch of the night, the Bible said, which is like 3 to 6 in the morning. And while they were rowing and straining against the wind, they saw something. They saw something coming on the water. In fact, it looked like a person coming on the water, and they were terrified. Do you know what they thought it was? They thought it was a ghost, but it wasn't. It was Jesus. And Jesus said, "Don't be afraid, it's me." And Peter said, "If it's really you, then you tell me to come out of the boat and walk to you on the water." And Jesus said, "Come." And so Peter got down out of the boat and he started to walk towards Jesus in the water. It was amazing. But then Peter noticed the wind blowing around him, and he got scared, and he started to sink, and he cried out. He said, "Lord, save me." And Jesus reached out and grabbed him and said, "Oh, you of little faith, why did you doubt?" So Jesus and Peter climbed back into the boat, and the disciples, they fell down and they worshiped Jesus, and they said, "Truly, you are the Son of God." Well, immediately the boat was at the other side of the lake, the Sea of Galilee, and people very soon recognized Jesus, and they knew he was there. And so then people started coming and bringing their sick to Jesus, hoping that he'd heal them, and they begged him to just let them touch just the hem of his garment, just the edge of his garment, and everyone who touched Jesus was healed. Well, those are our stories about the miracles that Jesus did. And so hopefully we'll see you guys next week. Bye for now.